Hello, everyone. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe at GST that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but the opportunities are not. With that, I have an incredible guest today. Ben Colman is a co-founder and CEO of Reality Defender, a Y Combinator-backed company that recently won first place at the RSA Innovation Sandbox, one of the most prestigious honors in cybersecurity. Ben has an incredible background for Goldman Sachs to Google, to advising and investing in startups, and now he's leading the charge in protecting our digital ecosystem from AI-generated threats across video, audio, text, and images. In this conversation, we're going to dive into the rise of deepfakes, how Reality Defender is building real-time defense systems. Ooh, we all need those because we sure have a lot of scammers out there. And the future of regulation, AI labeling, and what it all means for trust in a world where seeing is no longer believing. I'd like to welcome Ben to the show. Hi, Ben.
Thank you for having me. This is a incredibly important topic, and I appreciate the opportunity to geek out a little bit.
So, you've had an incredible career path from Goldman Sachs to Google, Y Combinator, and now leading Reality Defender. First of all, why did you decide to go to Goldman Sachs? And then why did you decide to transition over to tech?
As a founder, or I guess as a recovering founder, I've done a lot of things that might not be recommended, but they've worked great for me. I think everyone has to find their own journey. What I've found, whether it's at Google in grad school or Goldman Sachs or doing different types of research with the government, for me, it's been a really fantastic almost break from startups, not just to, collect myself and my thoughts, but more importantly to, observe exciting problems that may or may not have solutions. And so for me, specifically Goldman Sachs was a phenomenal opportunity between startups. Some would say to take a break, but there's no break at a large investment bank. And having a phenomenal day-to-day where I sat outside the office of the CISO, who then was Phil Venables, then CTO Don Duet, and then CIO Marty Chavez. And I'd say I learned more at Goldman Sachs than in undergrad and graduate school, specifically around cybersecurity.
So Reality Defender recently won first place at its RSA's Innovation Sandbox. What does that mean for you and the company? And more importantly, how big is this problem that we're going after today with the deepfakes? Because you hear about it. I see it all the time, right? And I've been involved in AI for 29 years. I've been in tech 40 years. So I've seen
it. Let's answer the last question first. Deepfake fraud is the number one digital threat facing all companies because it really paints a picture that you can't trust what you see or what you hear, which means any business decision, any personal conversation or engagement might not be real. I say that as an individual and as a company, we're very much pro-AI exceptionalism. Majority of AI, particularly generative AI, is solving for creativity, solving for productivity, solving for science. But in this very, very small edge case, where still it is a bit of the Wild West in the absence of any real kind of national or international regulations, the risks are asymmetric. And so, we're really excited that we are focused on solving this problem and it is solvable. But the question of how big of the problem, there's nothing bigger.
What does it mean though, Ben, when you say it's nothing bigger? Well, what's the risk? Where are the risks right now with this, like the deep fakes, right? Mm-hmm. So what is somebody going to call you up and pretend there's somebody else and have their voice and clone it? And, it's your mother. Hey, wire me $1 million. $10,000. I need it. I got a big car accident. What's going to happen? What is happening?
Let's unpack like what's happening and why it's happening and how it's metamorphosizing. The technology to deepfake you or me, has gotten better. It's evolved really over the last 5 years. When we started the company, we went out saying we detect AI avatars and virtual humans, which is not quite as sexy as saying deepfakes and generative AI, which are buzzwords only started in the last few years. What's limited the technology at a high level has been compute. Unless you can afford tens of thousands of dollars or more of compute, you just can't do a good deepfake. What's changed over the last 2 years is that now it's nearly free. It either costs a few dollars or it's just completely free off the shelf online. Single photo of you, Gary, a few seconds of audio, and you can make a near perfect deepfake that even the researchers on our team can't tell the difference on. If we were speaking 3 years ago, we'd have talked about all the ways you can detect something peculiar in terms of symmetry and kind of hourglass.
We were building deepfakes, doing the avatars, right, and testing it a couple of years ago. But now it's a lot better, and it takes 15 seconds. I think I did with my clip, and created my own avatar, right? And
it takes seconds. And what's also changed in terms of who's being targeted, because of the cost before, the only real targets would be somebody, perhaps a bank CEO or a country leader. But now, given it's so inexpensive, all the different kind of relationship scams, romance scams, or traditional identity fraud perspectives can be at a massive scale. And beyond that, speaking to specific telephone fraud, like I have small kids. A few years ago it was, hello, we have your son, we have your daughter, and now it is, hello, we are your son or we are your daughter. And that's where things get really scary really quickly, given that, for most folks, they think they can tell the difference and they can't. But for other folks, the elderly, for example, this is just a number of potential digital threats facing them. And it's also one that we believe fundamentally, people can't tell the difference themselves. People also should not be required to tell the difference. Because of solutions like Reality Defender, it absolutely can be thought of as just an extension of viruses or antivirus. We're not asking you, Gary, and me, Ben, to provide community notes to files and say, hey, team, don't open this file. It has ransomware. It has an APT. No, we just trust that endpoint antivirus solutions are doing it all the time because the threat is evergreen. It's always happening. But given that the regulatory environment is still catching up to the threat, you still face certain areas, particularly around social media, consumer platforms, that say, you know what, we might not do anything until we're required to, but we have community notes, which is to say that only if it's been shared 1 million times will people maybe add comments to it and say, hey, this is definitively fake or fraud. But that's too little, too late. And so we firmly believe, very much like antivirus software, we should be scanning everything in real time upon upload, because we can. And for many of our clients, whether they're government, large banks, large media, that's what they are doing. They're doing that because they believe it makes good sense, whether it's for business reasons or for moral reasons. But the long tail of consumer platforms are doing less than nothing. They're either doing nothing or they're saying, hey, we have community notes, which is to say that they're legitimizing fakeness by saying, don't worry, we will allow you to comment on it, which is worse than doing nothing.
You've had this incredible journey. You've also testified before Congress on the dangers of deep fakes. How was the response? What was it? I didn't see it, but I've done a few of those kind of things myself, and most of the time people don't get it. I got to be honest with you. I mean,
that's a huge challenge in all of security. How do you create that kind of emotional, that like visceral response? Otherwise, you see something on TV, on the news, and you see something, you say, oh, that'll never happen to me. What we're saying is, it will, and it probably already has. You just don't realize it. We had the opportunity to testify in the Senate, Judiciary Committee, and with one of the subcommittees with Senator Blumenthal and Senator Hawley. We, again, with their approval, shared a deepfake of them. Now, we were careful to not make it market moving. I think the deepfake of Senator Blumenthal said he liked, a baseball team when he actually liked their arch rival across town. So it was a bit fun. But at the same time, there was that aha moment from all the senators saying, like, holy blank, that sounds just like you. And then we showed them how we created it using completely off-the-shelf tools that anyone could find on the first 2 pages of Google. And so I think the reaction, the response to this is finally where we were hoping it would happen a few years ago, which is to say, this is truly a bipartisan recognized problem. It is not political. We have, Senator Hawley and Republicans, Senator Blumenthal and Democrats, absolutely arm in arm on this issue. So it's really, exciting to watch when government is really kind of unanimous on a challenge. And I would expect, knock on wood, that within the next 12 months we have some country level regulatory requirements. I think we're going to look back on this era and say, I can't believe there was a time when we didn't do real-time deepfake detection. The same way that you and I could probably say right now, I can't believe that there was a time we didn't have antivirus. We forget it's there. It just blocks emails when they have attachments that are nefarious.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you 100%. I've been around the block on this. In fact, I had a conversation with Rick Orloff, the former top security officer at Apple. He's a good friend of mine, and we've written a couple articles about it. I agree. It's a challenge, but most people don't realize it. They don't understand how big of a problem it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It could change everything. So the recent case with Senator Amy Klub, can't pronounce it, Klobuchar. Showed how powerless even lawmakers can be against malicious deepfakes. Why do the platforms struggle to take the decisive actions? Why is
that? I think the very short answer is that we're not the customer, we're the product on the platforms. And for a lot of platforms, without naming names, they're selling attention. And how do you get attention? You may allow things that are potentially outside the kind of regular items that you and I might.
I agree. It's gonna, and that's not good, right? Because you could get somebody in trouble. They could make it look like they said something they never said.
It's not good for many reasons. And kind of thinking about the other requirements on the platforms, they're not doing these things because they're good corporate citizens. They're doing them because they're required by law or by regulations. Right now when you upload a video onto, let's say, on Meta on Facebook, it's already scanning for things before it even shows up. It's scanning for nudity. It's scanning for violence. It's scanning for underage imagery. It's scanning for the latest Taylor Swift song. Now, they're not doing that because they want to take a big stand on protecting people. They're doing it because literally it's required. And so what we're saying and we're recommending, and our engagement in Washington, D.C. is supporting, is not saying that AI or generative AI is bad. It's not saying block it. It's saying the bare minimum is just to indicate to consumers that something is or may be AI generated or manipulated, and they're giving users the right to say they don't want to see it. The same way that they don't want to see things for, for example, my kids. There's anything that is, potentially for somebody over 18, we don't see. If there's a video of a football game, the offensive line tends to be a bit violent. Great. YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, they'll block it. Again, not because it's good or bad, but because I, as a consumer, have the right to dictate what I want to be filtered. So this is effectively just another one of those items. Now, a lot of folks might not care at all and say, I don't want to see everything. But a lot of folks will also say, I do not want to see this. I don't want to see news coming out of Ukraine or DC or of celebrities, permissioned or non-permissioned deepfakes.
I mean, you see a lot of it now, though. Ben, it's like all over the place. I see these like movies. It says concept movie trailer, and they're using those. I don't know if they're licensed or they agree.
There's a whole long tail of AI slop, which is kind of a whole other question, which is some platforms may actually want this.
You don't know if it's a real movie trailer or a fake movie trailer. They're that good.
I mean, I might be a minority here, but I actually believe that the first platforms that come out saying you can actually flag for it and say whether you want to see it will actually drive a lot more revenue and a lot more bottom line for their investors. But right now, with the kind of continuation of attracting as much attention, as much extreme viewpoints as possible, there are absolutely no filters. And worse than that, there are things like community notes, which try and legitimize things that are objectively fraudulent.
Um, so these deepfake threats span video, audio, and text. What do you see as
Audio,
the
video, images, and text, all things that Reality Defender is provides the kind of highest demonstratable efficacy and accuracy on.
what's the most dangerous right now and why?
It's a really good question. Like depending on the market vertical within financial services, it's firmly audio, given that most financial decisions happen through a telephone. But as far as public discourse and geopolitics, it's in the vision space. So it's videos, and also to a lesser degree images as well. With Reality Defender, we provide updates multiple times a week across all modalities: audio, video, images. We also have text, but I'd say our focus is on audio and vision. We also offer our solution, very similar to Stripe, which solve payments 2 lines of code, or Twilio for telephony, or Plaid for engaging with different types of financial services. With 2 lines of code, which are free online, anyone can use, and we give free credits to scan. Any developer or platform or application or bank or social media platform can integrate Reality Defender with just 2 lines of code. And so there's no excuse to not do it. Again, we offer it for free for a limited number of scans per month. But the future is that treating this just like another form of endpoint protection, just like antivirus software. It should be everywhere. It should be on all phone calls, all video conferencing, all onboarding processes, all email sessions, also all browser sessions. We have a browser plugin for our clients as well. Anything that you can see or you can hear can and will be faked. And Reality Defender, I would argue, is the most important solution to give the viewers confidence in what they're seeing or hearing is real.
Well, I mean, the other point is, we've got so much data in front of us. And I mean, just think about it. In your own personal cloud, you get about 300,000 items. The entire web in 1996 with 257,000 websites. You have more
Mhm.
information in your personal cloud, the entire web. The problem is you're following your own your own world's following the same trajectory. By that I mean
Mhm.
doubling every year. In 5 years with IoT, you're going to have 10 million items. So
Right.
we got to scan stuff now, but we're burdened with data. We're burdened with images. We're burdened. I mean, I'm afraid to open up. I get these DocuSigns now. They'll look real, and I know they're not. I'm getting a lot of stuff all the time, and
You're
you
getting
can't.
spam phone calls, you're getting,
Yeah,
fraudulent emails, all these things.
exactly, all the time. And I think this is a broader problem. I think, and then the other side is because we don't have good. I mean, here's the deal: we don't have good tools to be able to go down through our email. People aren't even you're using WhatsApp right as a filter because you're saying, "Hey, listen, I got so much email, I don't even look at it like I did before." Right? It
But then
used
you're
to be
getting fraudulent messages on WhatsApp as well. Yeah.
well, that's it. You get fraudulent, but the key is everywhere. We've got filters, and then there'll be
Right.
something else that'll filter again. But the root of the problem is infobesity. We have too much data, and we exactly what you're saying. Use things
Mhm.
like Reality Defender to be able to show us what's right and just for everything, right?
Well,
And it's getting
let me be very clear here. There's no silver bullet in cybersecurity. So Reality Defender, does not solve absolutely everything. What it does solve for is specifically, are there indicators of AI or not? We won't say whether you're Gary or Ben. There's a whole range of kind of identity verification tools that claim to do that. We would just argue that all those can be hacked or faked. We can inject a fake audio stream on a phone call, inject a fake video stream, where your computer and other video conferencing solutions will not be able to tell the difference either. But while all those things might say, yes, it's Gary's voice, yes, it's Gary's face, Gary's birthday, social security number, device ID, telecom provider, all those things, we say yes, but the voice or the face are AI generated. And I think that's where it gets really interesting, given that the tradition in cybersecurity is focused on one-time authentications before a phone call, before a wire transfer, before a video conference. What we say is whether it happens in the first second or 20 minutes in, we're still scanning. And we're scanning in a way that protects all the data. We deploy wherever a bank, for example, wants. We're not focusing on any personal data. We don't need it. All we're doing is looking for indicators of AI. And we believe that alone is enough to solve for majority of identity fraud risks that are leveraging AI at massive scale.
Europe just rolled out mandatory AI labeling. Do you believe similar legislation is required in the U.S.?
There's been a number of kind of AI labeling policy proposals, so I'm not sure which specific one you're talking about, but
Yeah,
I think if I understand what you're saying is it's not focused on whether it's true or not true or good or bad, but just specifically is there AI or not. Uh,
exactly.
I
Yeah,
think
so
that is
they're labeling in Europe. Why don't we do the? I mean, essentially, you're doing the same thing here, right? You could say you have
right.
the option of wanting it or not. Maybe it is something you do want, and
This
maybe it's
is,
something
yeah,
you
whether
don't.
it's in Europe or the UK or Asia, um, this is absolutely, the lowest the lowest opportunity to solve for. Obviously, once you solve for is it AI or not, you think about content or context or intent. But right now, if we can definitively require platforms to the bare minimum, just let consumers decide do they want to see AI or not, that is a huge step in the right direction.
The one thing, this is the thing that concerns me, right? So the regulators, they're out there, they need to strike a balance between protecting people, from malicious deep fakes and AI and not stifling innovation. I know last year, in August of last year, I used my multi-agent large language models and we identified how to build a cancer vaccine for my dog with stage 4 cancer and put complete remission of stage 4 cancer. Now, I'm not a
Mhm.
scientist, right? But I know one thing, that tool changed my mind about how things work. And so on one side, I'm afraid that we're going to stifle the innovation. We're not going to be able to do things like drug discovery, right? And at the same time, I am concerned about the deep fakes, and we all should be concerned about these deep for everything. So where's the balance? How do you strike a balance so that you just keep moving forward, but and at the same time, you're not putting an anchor in the ground?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that this is absolutely a kind of a global problem that spans all industries. I think the good news is that among our clients, they're not thinking of it in terms of a competitive differentiator. We'll get the CTO of Bank A pitching about the problem and solution to Bank B. There are a number of solutions in the market, including Reality Defender. I'd say Reality Defender is kind of a uniqueness that we're the only kind of infrastructure layer solution. We're not selling the final solution that is being used by the end user. What we're doing is selling the upstream infrastructure layer that plugs into every single tool that organization, whether it's a big company, whether it's a bank, whether it's government, is already using. We don't want end users to have to learn something new. We don't want you to learn to be a AI forensics expert. But you certainly know when your phone says, this phone call may be spam. You certainly know when your email says that this file attachment might be a virus. We're not requiring you to open up the binaries of an attachment and actually do a code review and say, you know what, this is a virus. Hey, team, don't open this. And that's exactly how we're thinking about the expansion of real-time deepfake detection as far as real-time communications and really any kind of voice, video, or image-based scenario.
As a founder, what advice would you give other entrepreneurs tackling highly regulated, high stakes problems? So, the words of wisdom, what have you learned? So, all these different transitions you've made from
Sure.
corporate to being a startup entrepreneur, what words of wisdom would you give those entrepreneurs?
It's easiest to say and hardest to do, which is just to stay focused. Throughout my career, and most recently Reality Defender, one of the hardest challenges is saying no to exciting tangential opportunities, especially when there's revenue built into it. But ensuring that you're kind of keeping your eye on the prize and staying true to your direction, I think it not only inspires your team but also inspires your clients as well. And it means that your first client is probably your most critical because you're going to learn so much to either validate your thesis or tell you, hey, you're on the wrong track. Um,
Well, and that's a lot of customer development, right? It's always a hypothesis testing, and it must be an iterative process. You got to do it all the time. It never stops. I can tell you, over 40 years of building companies and going down through the ups and downs and ins and out, including an IPO on NASDAQ. You go down through the journey, and you're right. It's staying the course, believing in your dreams, and using that, unleashing your own potential. And as a startup entrepreneur, sometimes you have to talk to yourself, right? It's you. You're the one that's going to push it forward. You're the one that's going to move it. And but you look at the next 5 years, and what do you think the new normal will look like in terms of trust verification, and AI-generated content. How's it going to change?
Just kind of echoing some of my earlier comments, I think on most kind of initial basis, it's just giving users the ability to decide if they want to see AI or not. Personally, I'll probably look at all of it. But for most folks, they may decide certain times, certain environments, they don't want to see it. I know when my kids pull up their tablets, we have every single parental control possible. This is a parental control that I think every single parent will turn on immediately. But I also think it won't be complicated. I think average users don't understand how spam blocking tools work on their phones. They just know that it works. That is exactly how I think deepfake detection will be used at scale. It'll be a simple alert, whether auditory, whether on your screen. I get a phone call, it says spam detected. I either say no because it's spam, or I see, oh my goodness, it's my airline. My flight might be delayed, which absolutely kind of gets filtered potentially by spam blocking, but also is the kind of spam I want to hear. So really kind of summing it all together, it's kind of ensuring that the consumers of different solutions can make their own determination, and not putting that on a slippery slope that leads to all kinds of other even scarier cybersecurity risks.
So what excites you the most about the future of AI beyond the challenges, and what role do you see Reality Defender shaping how's it going to shape the future?
I think that for all kinds of AI, the kind of the focus of the last 5 years is about throwing more data at the problem, just add data. And I think that we're all realizing that that is providing, very depreciating returns. And so I think over the next few years, it's going to be a move away from just adding more data and more toward kind of differentiated foundational architectures, both on the Gen AI side, but also on the detection side that we're focusing on. And so, I don't want to get ahead of myself.
So differentiated foundational architectures. Tell me a little bit about that.
What we're seeing is that whether it's DeepSeek or others, when you're limited by data or limited by compute, you tend to be innovative in different ways. And so I believe that we're going to start seeing a lot more exciting evolutions from folks who don't have the billions of dollars in terms of buying, tons of compute infrastructure. And I think it opens up a lot of interesting entrepreneurial opportunities for folks who are specialized in, different types of verticals or different kinds of solutions.
No, I like that. I like that differential foundational architectures. I like that idea. I think that's interesting, right? So tell me a little bit of closing thoughts and how do people get a hold of you?
Anybody who wants can go to our website, realitydefender.com. If they're a developer, go to /API, and they can get access to our API and SDKs. I believe right now, as of today, we have 7 different SDKs. They could build on it, today. In 15 minutes, they can have it wired together. 20 minutes, they can actually see it working. Anybody who's looking for additional credits or any questions could email me at hello@realitydefender.com. Always happy to support the developer ecosystem. I'd say the broader ecosystem is bringing a lot of interesting use cases, things we haven't even thought about. And that's what makes our role really exciting. We are a infrastructure layer solution that can be applied to almost every single industry vertical.
That's great. Ben, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And thanks to all my audience for joining one more time. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. And thanks to all the audience for joining one more time. GSD presents Top Global Startups. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. We'll be back to you again soon with another exciting edition. Ben, if you want to stay on for a few minutes after the show, we can talk. We've got the time. Thank you.